Welcome to the Brain Picker Pro Show, live from Lake Wiley, South Carolina. I am really excited today because we have a special guest on, and his name is Casey Mericle. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having
Awesome,
me.
awesome. So let me tell you guys a little bit about Casey, okay? He's an entrepreneur, he's an investor, business owner. He's over in Springfield, Missouri, right, Casey?
Correct.
Yeah. And he spends a lot of his time and energy right now partnering with other people, doing hard money loans, doing options, doing stuff in self-directed retirement accounts, doing 1031 exchanges, all kind of stuff. So I'm just really excited to have him on today and to be able to have him share a lot about what he's doing. This is going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be, just straight wholesaling or straight marketing or whatever. He's got some really unique strategies and things that he does. So welcome, Casey. What's been going on?
Well, hi, Larry. To be honest with you, all kinds of stuff. Of those things, I would say, my primary business is hard money lending, but I'm constantly doing all kinds of different things, finding people for 1031s, helping people grow their self-directed retirement accounts, partnering and starting businesses. So yeah, a sprinkle of everything. Variety is the spice of life,
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I love it. I love it. That's the cool thing about real estate. There's so many different things you can do with real estate, right?
Exactly. You just got to pick the thing that you like the best, which it takes a while to go through all of the things so you can pick the thing you like the best,
And what's funny is you said something earlier before we started recording, the more complicated, the better for you, right?
Well, it's not, I don't necessarily try to make it complicated, but I find that if it is a little bit more complex, that other people don't necessarily understand it, and I don't have as much competition, or it locks up the deal for my investors better, I don't try to go super complicated. In fact, I try to make it as simple as possible when I'm dealing with people, but
right.
Paying attention can really help you lock up a deal. So
that's really cool. So let's kind of start with the basics. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how long you've been in business, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. So I started out in real estate about 15 years ago. I was flipping houses, buying houses on the courthouse steps back when you could get deals on the courthouse steps, and I had two children, got married with a wife, and I sat there and said to myself, okay, well, how do I make more money and not work as hard? I'm sure plenty of people have been there. And
right.
So I got into some different things. I got into notes and mortgages, still do that today, like that business a lot. And then I got into creative financing of all sorts, and then self-directed IRAs, solo 401ks, and then eventually I got into lending, which I probably like the best out of all of the things that I do. Although I would say lending with options in my self-directed IRA and my investor self-directed IRAs is about my most favorite thing. So kind of the journey. So.
That is cool. That is cool. So tell us a little bit about your hard money lending business. How does that work?
Yeah. So over the years, I've developed a network of investors and a network of deal finders, really, bird dogs, what have you. I consider them partners. And they bring me deals. I vet the deals. I go back to my investors and I say, hey, this does look like a deal. Would you be interested in investing? A lot of times they'll put up some of the money. I'll put up some of the money. Other times they'll put up all of the money and I'll put up none of the money. I'll give them an above average rate of return. And then, we'll sit there. The borrower will flip the house or they'll fix it up if it needs it, refinance, buy me out, buy us out, really, or find an end buyer, and so nothing fancy about that anybody else isn't doing, but there's some complexity, I guess, in how I do it. So, yeah.
Right now, are you only lending primarily in your local market?
I would say for the most part, yes, but I get requests all over the place, and actually, I'm starting to branch out from that. I really don't like to lend on something that I don't know about the market and don't have a good idea. However, in trying to expand my reach a little bit, I have been venturing outside. But only in places where I have some other contacts where, they can help me understand the market, where it's at, and what value is.
That's really good. That is really good. Now, you're really big on using self-directed retirement accounts, right?
I am. I am.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, in fact, I try to get all of the people that invest with me to get into self-directed retirement accounts. So, there's several flavors of self-directed retirement accounts. The one that I use primarily is a self-directed IRA, although, solo 401ks, there's HSAs, there's a million of them out there. I really like that, and I like that for my investors because I try to set them up with a Roth, so they pay the tax up front, and then like a snowball rolling down a hill, you start out, you're growing what they have or what I have, and you basically never have to pay tax. The other thing that I've recently gotten into via our friend Walter Walford is an inherited self-directed Roth IRA, which I'm not 59 and a half yet. So this snowball that I've been building up over the years is getting bigger and bigger, but I can't touch it without penalty until I'm 59 and a half. The advantage to the inherited part of this is I can take distributions immediately if it's a seasoned Roth inherited account, which this one that I just got is. So I'm looking forward to doing as many deals as I possibly can in that, especially with options and lending.
So let's talk a little bit about that stretch IRA,
Yep.
and that's what a lot of people call an inherited IRA. Tell our listeners why that's so important and why you have for lack of a better word, acquired an inherited IRA, and why you're going to focus on that.
Sure. So basically, I've got one non-stretch account and one stretch account right now. So the non-stretch account, both accounts are Roth, so the tax has been paid, right? So there's no penalty for me. But the non account, I've got to wait until I'm 59 and a half to take distributions without penalty. Whereas the stretch IRA or the inherited IRA, I can take distributions immediately. Now there's some rules about that, and I would encourage everyone to. I would really, really encourage everyone to figure out the rules before they go forward, because it's something you don't want to mess up. But being able to do real estate deals completely tax-free and touch them, I'm 38, so before I'm 59 and a half, I've got 20 years to get there, is highly advantageous. It's going to save me, 30 to 40% on my taxes every year, 30 to 40% more on every deal I do.
Awesome. Awesome. And guys, what Casey's talking about is if someone has an IRA and you inherit that IRA, which you have done, right? And there's some people out there now that will even, for lack of a better word, sell you one. I don't like to use that term, but that's kind of what it is. You can become a beneficiary of an IRA. So when someone passes along, then you inherit that IRA. And what Casey means by a stretch is that when you inherit that IRA, you can take a tax-free distribution over your lifespan. Yep. So like Casey, you're 38 years old. So let's say that the actuary tables are 80 years old. Okay. So you've got 42 years that you could take a distribution of that IRA of an equal share until you're 80 years old. And also, you can continue to grow that IRA. You can't add to it
Yep.
As far as a contribution,
Right.
but you can grow the money that's already in there and grow it as much as you can and basically live tax-free for the rest of your life as long as you could grow it enough, correct?
Correct. And what's funny is, people ask me, and I'm sure they ask you all the time, hey, why would I invest in a self-directed IRA or even a solo 401k? There's so little money I can put in it, right? However, I've never ever contributed to one of my self-directed retirement accounts ever. What I do is I find deals, I wrap the money in a joint venture deal, and then I'll grow it by a multiple. 10 or 20x isn't hard to do at all. So you don't need to have a lot of money in your self-directed retirement accounts to grow them, exponentially.
That is so true. Give us an example of a type of deal where you can 10 or 20x a small amount in an IRA.
Sure. So, like I said, I do hard money lending all the time, right? So let's say I get in a hard money loan. Let's say there's a loan I do on a house for $75,000, right? I might have one of my investors put up the vast majority of that. I might have them put up 74 out of the 75. I might put 1,000 of my own money from my self-directed stretch IRA in there. And I might say, okay, you're going to get 8% of this deal. I'm going to get everything over 8% of this deal. And let's say, the borrower cashes out at 15%. Well, that's an easy way to multiply your money. You do that a couple times. It's pretty nice. Yeah.
That's sweet. Now you also do some wraps as well and some options, right?
Yeah. So my favorite thing to do in my IRA is options. Sounds like you and I are in agreement there. It's the highest form of leverage with very little risk, So I do the same kind of thing with options. In fact, I've got a fairly new venture with a business partner of mine. I don't partner with him in this business, but he sells me options, these option loans. And that's exactly what I do. I wrap other people's money in them. I put a little bit of my money in them, and then we either exercise or don't exercise and wait for payoff. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. What kind of terms is your hard money lending?
Yeah. So, well, I start everyone at 10%, but I go up a couple percent every month just because I don't know about you, Larry, but I don't really like going and looking at these places. I find that after I go and look at it the first time, if the price goes up, then the borrower knows that they need to get done, and I don't have to go babysit it anymore.
Right.
So I don't like babysitting, so that's a good way to stop that. But,
Awesome.
the other thing I do, so that's the hard part of it. The easy part of it is I'll give somebody a no money down deal if they get a good enough deal.
Right.
And I'll even finance their repairs if they get a good enough deal. Because I know my market, I like the back of my hand. I've been here 15 years and I've got that part. Values I've got down. So, and the other nice thing I do is I balloon it all at the end because I don't really like keeping track of monthly payments. So I find that if a borrower can get in for no money down and a borrower doesn't have to make monthly payments, I usually put them on 6-month terms, then they're pretty happy even if they have to pay a little bit more. So
right. That's good. And you don't have to keep up with the payments. You just have a big payday at the end.
Yep.
Now, I'm assuming most of these loans are what we would call a rehab loan, where somebody's buying the property to fix it up and resell it, or fix it up and refinance and pay you off and then rent it out.
Yeah, the majority. Although, from time to time I'll get something else. Like the other day I got a guy that lives here in Springfield asked me about a beach house he has in Amelia Island to lend on. So And I mean, it is super nice. So you never know. You never know.
That's awesome. That is good. Now, how do you find most of your investors that are that you loan out their money, partner with them?
Yeah, so different ways. So, early on, it was just kind of friends and family, just like everyone else. But then you get to a critical mass, and you say to yourself, "Okay, I've got more deals than I have money coming in." So, from that, I found that I don't have to tell that many people. You give somebody a really nice return on their money, and you do what you say you're going to do, and typically they'll talk to their friends. So word of mouth is great, right? Referrals are amazing. Self-directed IRAs are also great, or 401k, self-directed retirement account people. There's a ton of money out there that's just sitting fallow, that somebody would love to make, 5, 6, 7, 8% on their money. And it's not that hard to do. If you've got the deals. If you don't have deal flow, then it is hard to do, of course.
That's the key, man. That's the key. You got to have two things to do real estate: deal flow and money.
Yep. That's it. So, it's pay people, do what you say you're going to do it when you say you're going to do it. And, it's really not too hard to find the money. And like I said, self-directed accounts, people are looking to put that money to work, and they just don't know how a lot of times. So I help with that,
What kind of yields do your investors typically make? Like you said, 5, 6, 7, 8?
Yeah. So I mean, it depends, right? So I give my family members a really good yield if they invest with me, but I give them a better yield than I would give somebody else. But right now I've been paying people 5% on 6-month terms, so that's 10% a year. I don't guarantee anything to them. I say, hey, this is the deal.
Right.
We're going to lock this up. I'm going to triple secure you. Here's how. And people are pretty happy with 10%. Sometimes I can flip their money 3 times a year. So, if they're willing to give me something at 5%, I'm going to try really hard to flip their money 3 times a year.
So explain this triple secure hard money lending. Explain that a little bit.
Yeah. So, if you talk to a traditional hard money lender, I feel like I'm giving away all my secrets here. If you talk to a traditional hard money lender, they're going to say, hey, I'm going to give you a first mortgage. It's going to be great. It's going to take this long, and I'm going to try to pay you this amount, right? I come from the Jack Miller, Jack Shea school of lending. In fact, Jack Shea is, I think you know him. He's the one who taught me this. So it's not my idea. I'm no genius. But I lend under the guise of buying, really. So I'm a big trust guy. Take title in a trust. I allow the borrower to be the trustee. Myself and my investors are the beneficiaries. So we actually own the title to the property. So that's one layer. Second layer is first mortgage. Typically, not always. Sometimes you've got an out of the box deal and you've got to do something else. Third layer of security is I have them sign an unrecorded quitclim. You could do a deed in lieu too, which is really nice. You stick it in your drawer, and if you ever have problems, then you've got that on file. And really, I try to go a fourth layer. I try to have a nice, healthy reserve on hand at all times, just in case a deal does blow up, that I can come in and buy my investor out.
So in the trust, you and your investor are the beneficiary, but the borrower is the trustee.
Yeah. And the trustee, basically, because most of these are rehab loans, like you said, right? So they've got to go turn on the utilities and such. So they need to have their name on it. But knows that, if they do anything fishy, they can be fired. So they can be fired, so they'd be out of the trust. The mortgage gives that additional security. If they go to sell it out from under us, they'd have a really hard time doing that. And then the deed in lieu or the quitclaim is just, extra security. If 1 or 2 doesn't work, then 3 definitely will,
That's really good. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Haven't heard of anybody doing all three of those. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about you also do some 1031s, right?
Yeah. So people,
Explain what a 1031 is first. I've done a couple of them, and so I'm familiar with them, and getting ready to do another one. But just for our listeners, explain what a 1031 is.
So a 1031 exchange is basically a tax deferred exchange if you're selling real estate, you can enter into a 1031 with a qualified intermediary, is what they call it. At the sale, you basically place your money with a qualified intermediary. You've got 45 days to go find one or more new properties of equal or greater value from the property you sold. From there, you have after you find and provide those properties, you've got 120 days to close on them. And if you complete that with a qualified intermediary, you can't hold the money. You have to have them hold the money. Then you don't get charged any tax. You basically defer the tax to a later date. So it's a great way to pyramid your assets and your real estate activities tax deferred for a very long time. So you can build your wealth tremendously. So it's a great thing to do. So I have people that come to me with money and they say, "Hey, Casey, you've got deal flow. I don't have deal flow. Can you find somewhere to place X amount of money and in a short amount of time?" And that's really right up my alley most of the time.
That's really cool. That is good. Yeah. 1031 can be really good. Where a lot of people make a mistake and think they can do a 1031 is in buying and selling properties. Like if you're a fix and flip or you're a wholesaler, you can't do that. You typically need to hold the property. I've had some CPAs tell me 2 tax returns, but it's got to be a property that's held for investment, not a property that you were going to flip, right?
Yep, correct.
Yeah. A quick example is when I bought my office building, I had a lot. I paid $770 for my office building, and I had a lot that I had $40,000 in.
Right.
But it was a commercial lot.
Right.
So whenever I bought that building, I traded that lot as part of the down payment, and I 1031'd it into my building at a $300,000 value.
Yeah.
So I only had 40 in it, so I deferred the gain from 40 to 300. Yeah. And now I'm getting ready to sell my office building for 1.2.
Right.
And then I'm going to 1031 that into a multifamily property.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly how it works. That's a perfect.
There you go. There you go. That's good. So tell us a little bit about options. You use some options and you really like that as well. Explain a little bit about what is an option, how does it work, and how are you specifically using them?
Yeah, I use them in a number of ways, but an option is the right but not the obligation to buy. You'll see option in just about every MLS contract. You'll see a financing option. You'll also see an inspection option a lot of times. So it's just a contingency in the contract. So I use options by going and getting contracts, or people sell me contracts to purchase properties at deeply discounted prices. For putting in very little money. I might pick up an option for a couple $1,000s on a $150,000 house. I might have an option to buy at, let's say, 100 less the 5,000 that I put up for option consideration, something like that.
Right.
So I use those. I love to use options in my self-directed retirement accounts. I have other people do that in their self-directed retirement accounts, and I've been really getting into what I call option loans, but they're really kind of a hybrid thing. So I've got a friend that I partner with in another business, and he provides me these option loans, if you will, in my retirement account, and a lot of times I'll wrap them with other people. So the only difference between an option and an option loan is really, there's a way to cancel for the person who gives me the option, or gives us the option, I guess. So, but there's, the longer it goes, the better it is. So I think it's the greatest thing ever. It's a great way to 100x your money.
That's awesome. That's really, really good. So, Casey, what are some other ways that people can grow a small retirement account? Because a lot of people, you even mentioned this earlier, a lot of people may have a retirement account and they're like, I can't put much money in it, or even an ESA or an HSA, which are both great types of accounts, but you can't put a lot of money in them at one time. What are some other ways that people can take a small amount of money and grow it and 10x or 20x that money and really make a difference? Because you're not going to make much money, or you're not going to do much difference if you've got an HSA and you only got $2,000 in there and you're earning $500 a year.
Sure.
So what are some just give us a little rundown of some different ways people can really beef up a small account.
Yeah, I think if you don't have deal flow, then it's go to people like yourself, Larry, or me, and say, hey, do you have anything that I can do with this, right? So what I really like to do with people that have small IRAs is basically try to find deals where I can double their money, and try to do that a couple times with them. So same kind of thing we've been talking about. Let's say I get one of these option loans. Let's say it's for $10,000. I would be willing to put up $9,000. The extra $1,000, maybe the small IRA person could put up. We joint venture. I'd say to them, hey, I'll double your money whenever this pays out, whatever the agreement is. It just depends on what the agreement is. And, I'll take the rest. And I find that if I do that a couple of times, I've found a friend.
There you go. I bet so.
Yeah. So, that's a great way to do it, I think. But finding someone who has deal flow is really helpful, because if you find somebody who has deal flow that knows what they're doing, that can, double your money, let's say. Now, they're not going to double your money for the rest of your life, right? So that's, I'm not going to double anybody's money for the rest of their life, but I probably double it a couple times to get it big enough where, 2, 3, 4 times to get it big enough where they could go buy a house on their own if they wanted to.
Right. That's really cool. And then you help them, and then they're going to help you at the same time.
Yeah, if they want to. I try to do stuff. I've gotten to the point in my life where I just say, hey, life is good. If you want to do that, fine. If you want to go buy something else, fine. But, I find that people typically are pretty happy with you, and they'll like to do business with you again if you are nice enough to do something like that. So I'm not looking for reciprocation, but it does come my way occasionally.
That's good. That is good. So obviously, you being 38 years old, you're not able to live off the money in your retirement account yet, because you're not 59 and a half. So what does kind of a day in the life look like for you? And are you doing deals outside of your retirement account as well to pay the bills?
Yes and yes. So I'm doing, primarily hard money loans, but like I said, I'll buy and sell something if I find a good deal. I don't really look for good deals that often anymore, because I have other people that bring me deals that are really good, and I don't have to try that hard. Now, that's disappointing for somebody that's a beginner, because I get asked that all the time. Hey, how do you find deals? How do you have deal flow? And Larry, I'm sure you're like this. I really had to hustle back in the day to build up deal flow. Like, right. I felt like for years and years, I was grinding every single day, all the time, to try to find deals. And then, fast forward to today, I just apple falls off the tree and hits me in the head with deals. So, keep grinding, you'll get there, is what I would say. But as far as yes, I do plan. I primarily lend in my personal account to grow my personal wealth. Still, so I've got my own money. I've got IRA. I've got a couple IRAs. I've got my family's got IRAs. So I'm basically juggling phone calls and paperwork for deals and calling investors, and that's a typical day for me.
That's awesome. That's really good. So, man, Casey, this has been really, really good stuff. I really appreciate you sharing. It's a lot of unique things that you're doing. You know, like you said at the beginning, you like the deal structure, all that. No wonder you like Walter and those guys, because they can do some pretty complicated deals, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. I do. I like it. So you say real estate, I'm there.
That's awesome. That's good. So if somebody wanted to reach out to you, you know, maybe talk to you about what you're doing, and you know, maybe you guys work together or something, how would they reach you?
They can just email me, Casey, Casey, at Streamline Holdings LLC. So stream like a river, line like a line on a page, holdings plural with an S, LLC.com. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
And if
awesome.
I talk a
So,
little, happy to do it. Yeah.
Casey, do you have any parting words for somebody that may be out there? They're just getting started. Maybe they're ready to start growing an IRA. Maybe they have a small IRA. Do you have any kind of parting words for them of encouragement?
Yeah. Don't get discouraged. It took me years and years before I pulled the trigger on a deal. There are plenty of people out there that are shady and will take your money. So I would say check references and check as many references as you can. But there are plenty of people out there. I mean, go to an IRA event. There are plenty of people out there that have good deals that are just looking for money. And if you want to be passive, it's a pretty easy thing to do, you know?
Right. That's so true. Man, I really appreciate you being on today. Thanks a lot for taking the time.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Larry. It's nice of you.
That's awesome, man. Thanks a lot. You take care.
You too. Bye now.